Alright, so Panasonic is gonna be releasing a new entry-level full-frame camera for the L mount now, are they? Well, let's check online some of the rumored specs so far. Panasonic S5 will cost $1999. Okay. Contrast AF system DFT technology. Are you serious? Here we go again. Let's talk about it. So welcome guys to another camera related video. In this one I'll be talking about the soon to be announced Panasonic S5. This camera is gonna be announced on the 2nd of September and it's supposed to be a new entry-level full-frame camera for the L mount alliance. Now why do I put it like this? Well, because even though it is supposed to be an entry-level camera, it's priced at $2,000, or it is gonna be priced at $2,000, should I say. So that does not really scream entry-level in my opinion. $2,000 is really pushing it for an entry-level camera, but I'll get to that more as we go along in the video. But overall, this camera is not really feeling like an entry-level camera. So I am already right here in L mount rumors, the rumor site for the L mount alliance. So the Panasonic S5 will cost $1999, and here we have the leaked press text. So it's going to be priced at $1997.99, $22.97 with the kit lens, which I guess it's going to be the 20 to 60mm f3.5 to 5.6, which is a pretty great kit lens. For a kit lens, that's not bad because it starts at 20mm. The ISO sensitivity is going to be from 50 to 102,400 with an extended ISO of 204,800. So here we have the leaked press text. So the Lumix S5 full-frame mirrorless camera is designed specifically for content creators. Latest advances in image resolution, image stabilization, autofocus, all in this compact camera that is a signature of Lumix. Experience extraordinary video recording in 4K 60p, 422 10-bit. So that's pretty great. It's gonna have 4K 60p, 422 10-bit internally. The S1 does not have this, okay? The S1 has 4K 60p, but it does not have 422 10-bit, unlike the S5, which really begs the question, what is the point of the S1 then, if the S5 is going to have better video specs? I really don't know. It will also offer Full HD 180 frames per second slow motion, that's pretty great, as well as 4/3 anamorphic support. This is what makes S5 perfect for use when talking still photos or as a vlog camera. So it's going to have 24.2 megapixel 35mm full frame CMOS sensor, so it's gonna have the same sensor as the S1. It's gonna boost the wide dynamic range and high sensitivity performance. It's also gonna have dual native ISO technology, which enables the S5 to record maximum ISO of 52,200 crystal clear high sensitivity video. Dual native ISO minimizes noise in high sensitivity. It's gonna have V-Log, V-Gamut compatibility, and it's gonna offer over 14 stops of dynamic range. V-Log V-Gamut capability offers a 14 plus stop dynamic range to capture every detail. Okay, so just like the S1, it's also going to have dual native ISO, so that's pretty great, which is going to mean it's going to be much better for the low light and high ISO performance. They're saying right here it's going to have over 14 stops of dynamic range. That remains to be seen. Most of the times these numbers are not really accurate, but you can expect pretty much the same performance in low light as the S1, I guess. It's gonna have improved autofocus, which detects head as well as eyes, face and body. The powerful dual image stabilization with 5 axes enables 6.5 stops, slower shutter speed. Okay, so it's gonna have the improved autofocus. They're saying right here it's gonna be improved, but it's gonna have the same DFT technology, so I really cannot expect this camera to be that much better, if it is even better at all than the S1 or the S1R or the S1H. People have been bragging on this for many years now, that Panasonic really needs to implement a better autofocus system, either phase detect or time of flight. I know they're working on time of flight. It's probably still too early to implement that. They're probably gonna implement that on a smaller sensor camera like the GH6, for example. But this camera only having contrast detect, it's gonna be really a no-brainer. More people are not gonna buy this camera, even if it offers all these great video specs. If it does not offer good, reliable autofocus, they're not gonna get it. They're gonna go the Canon, Nikon, or Sony route, even Fujifilm, because Panasonic is still stubborn and they still continue to only use DFD, which is a pretty great system for photography. Don't get me wrong. For photography only, single point AF, it's the best system. It's the most accurate and most reliable, as well as the fastest. But for video tracking, that's the problem. It's not really great for the video tracking. It's not as reliable as Sony or Canon, and this is the Achilles heel of Panasonic. Now, I have seen many conspiracies online. It's either Sony that does not want to sell the phase detect sensors to Panasonic because they don't want to pretty much give the market, you could say, to Panasonic, because if Panasonic had phase detect, they will pretty much overthrow Sony in terms of market leader. Everyone would get Panasonic. It's either that or it's Panasonic that does not have money to get a phase detect. I'm not really sure. I really know what the problem is. There's a lot of conspiracies online about this, or it's either Panasonic that is really wants to improve the autofocus of contrast detect, and they don't want to go into phase because it creates bending. So yeah, I really am not sure about this. There's a lot of conspiracies online here and there talking about this, why Panasonic continues to use only contrast detect, but apparently this camera is going to still use the same contrast detect AF only. So I don't really see this camera selling that well. I think it's going to be dead on arrival at this price point, but yeah, it's going to have the same 6.5 stops of image stabilization as the G9, I guess. So that's going to be pretty great. The image stabilization on the G9 is pretty awesome. So this camera is going to have the same image stabilization system. So that's going to be pretty great. It's going to also be about the same size as the G9. It's going to be actually have some of the weight here actually. It's going to be a little bit over 600 grams. Yeah, so it's going to be 630 grams body only, 714 grams with the memory card and the battery. So it's going to be pretty much a full frame G9. Now, unfortunately, it's not gonna have the same quality EVF as a G9. The EVF is gonna be a little bit lower quality. The battery life is gonna be rated at 414 images with the rear monitor, 470 with the live viewfinder, and 1500 images in power save LVF mode. So the battery life has improved a little bit compared to the S1 and the S1R, and I think this has to do with the fact that it does not have a top LCD display, because top LCD displays do drain batteries. So this camera not having the top LCD display will allow it to have better battery life, so that's pretty great. 414 shots with the rear monitor and 470 with the live viewfinder is not really that bad. I mean, it's still better than the Nikon Z6, for example, and the Nikon Z7 and the Z5, so it's pretty great. It's pretty decent, I guess. And 1500 images with the power save mode is pretty nice, so at least the battery is good. It's also going to have pretty much the same things as the S1. It's going to have external mic input and the headphone jack and stuff like that. It's going to have the same 4K 60p, which I guess it's going to be cropped, just like the S1 and the S1H. Not even the S1H offers 4K 60 uncropped, so it's going to have 4K 60 10-bit 422, but it's going to be cropped in Super 35 mode. So you're not going to have 4K 60 full frame. It's going to have the same 6K and 4K photo modes. Yeah, it's going to have burst speed. It's going to be about the same burst shooting as well. So there's not really going to be that much of a difference there. It's going to have the dual IS, of course. Cinelec D2, Cinelec V2. It's going to have the same dual native ISO and the same ISO sensitivity as the S1. And yeah, it's gonna be pretty much the same specs as the S1, even better in some regards. The only thing really that I consider it's worse on this camera is the viewfinder. It's gonna be a little bit low resolution. I was trying to find it right here, but oh, it's right here. Okay, so it's gonna be 2.36 million dots compared to the 5 million plus megapixel dots on the S1. It's pretty decent for an entry-level camera, I guess, but then again, it's gonna be $2,000, so I would expect a little bit better for that price. The G9 now sells for $1,000 and it has over 3 million dot EVF, so yeah. But then again, it is the same quality as the A7 III, for example, which also came out to $2,000, so yeah. The problem with this camera really is that it's gonna have the DFT technology. It's not gonna have phase detect, so that's really gonna be very bad actually. It's gonna be pretty ridiculous, but oh well. One positive thing actually about this camera compared to the S1 and the S1R and well, not the S1H because that one also has that, but this camera is gonna have a flip-out screen just like the G9 and the GH5, so that's gonna be pretty positive point. At least it's gonna have a flip-out screen unlike the S1 and the S1R. Now it's not gonna have the same screen type as the S1H. Now that will be great, because the S1H still has the best screen type in my opinion. You can tilt it up and down and still flip it out, so that's the best of both worlds. This one is only going to have flip out, but at least it's better than the S1 which only tilts. Now for the button placement, I'm expecting them to change them a little bit probably. The S1H did change the button layout a little bit more. It's more like the G9. I hope this camera is more like the G9 because the S1 and the S1R button layout is not really that great. I don't know what they were thinking with the on-off button, for example, being where it is. So this camera, being that it's going to be about the same size as the G9, I'm expecting to be the same button layout pretty much, more or less. So the on-off button is going to be on the shutter, I guess. So yeah, this camera, I mean, the specs are pretty great, but the problem really right here with this camera is the price. First of all, it's $2,000. It should have been much cheaper. This is gonna be an entry-level camera, so it should have been at maximum $1,500 to compete with the Nikon Z5. But it's $2,000, so I don't really see this camera selling that well, especially with the A7 IV to be announced at the end of this year, most likely, and the R6 on the market now as well. Then you also have to factor in the Nikon Z6S, which is expected to be announced this year as well. It's going to be a beefier Nikon Z6. It's also going to have 4K 60 as well. So I don't really see this camera selling that well at this price point. And then there's the ridiculous DFT technology, of course. It's going to have the same contrast detect only AF system, so it's actually going to be great for vloggers and YouTubers and people who film themselves. So I don't really see this camera really selling that well. I think this camera really should have been the Panasonic S1. This seems more like a Panasonic S1 Mark II than an entry-level S5 in my opinion. I think this is what the S1 should have been. Pretty much the same weight as the G9 with a flip-out screen. Now this begs the question, what was the point of the S1 really? This camera is shaping up to be an even better S1 at the cheaper price, so I don't really see the S1, the point of the S1 being on the market with this camera. This camera is gonna cannibalize the S1 unless Panasonic releases an S1 Mark II to follow this one up, or they release a firmware update to improve the S1 specs. I don't really see the S1 selling that well anymore. It's already not selling well, and now with the S5 on the market, there's going to be even less incentives to buy the S1. So with the S1H and the S1R, you do get some things you don't get with the S5, like you get better resolution with the S1R, and with the S1H you get better video specs like 6K. But what do you get better with the S1 compared to the S5? Sure, you get a better EVF, but then again, the screen is going to be better on the S5 because it's going to be flip out screen. It's also the weight's going to be better as well. It's going to be more. It's going to be not as big as the S1. So there's really no point for the S1 with the S5 now. So yeah, those are my thoughts on this camera. Now, I've seen some people say that this camera is pretty much going to be the GH6. It's definitely not going to be the GH6. Panasonic will be announcing a GH6 soon, probably at the end of the year, and it's going to be released most likely at the start of next year, either in January or February. I'm not really sure, but this camera is going to be pretty much what the S1 should have been, I guess. It's going to be bundled with the 20 to 60mm kit lens, which is a pretty great kit lens. At least they have a pretty great kit lens. But again, it's priced too high in my opinion, and only if contrast detect, it's not going to really sell that well, especially with the upcoming Sony A5, which is expected to release at $1,000. It's going to be pretty much a show stealer compared to this camera. This camera, the S5, is going to be pretty much dead on arrival. I don't know what Panasonic is doing with these cameras. They're really not really selling that well for a fact, because they are very expensive for starters, and then they only have contrast detect. So unless Panasonic finally implements a time of flight sensor or a better video tracking autofocus compared to that can compete, should I say, with face detect or the hybrid detect autofocus from Sony and Canon, I don't really see the Panasonic really selling that well. So it is for the sake of Panasonic that they really can improve the autofocus a lot in video. Otherwise, they're gonna end up just like Olympus have recently sold their imaging division. Panasonic is probably gonna have to quit the imaging division because they're not really profiting that well. I don't see them selling that well. So they're most likely gonna be the next camera manufacturer to go away. Probably them or Nikon. Either one of them is gonna go away, just like the Olympus have recently. So yeah, and also what does it say about the Micro Four Thirds? Like I was saying, the GH6 is gonna be announced probably at the end of the year. But then again, now with the focus on full frame, I don't really see Panasonic putting much more attention into the Micro Four Thirds system. And now that Olympus has recently sold their imaging division as well, I don't really see Panasonic supporting a Micro Four Thirds system any longer. And the full frame system is not really selling that well. I don't really see Panasonic surviving for much longer. But yeah, those are my thoughts, guys, on the upcoming Panasonic S5. This is the entry-level full frame camera for Panasonic, which is not really entry-level. It's more of an enthusiast level camera, priced at $2,000. In my opinion, it's not going to be that popular. Sure, it has a flip-out screen, but then again, the G9, when you think about it, is a better deal than this camera, because not only is it half the price, it also has a better EVF, and even though it doesn't have element recording, you can always get an external recorder and still come out cheaper than this camera. So yeah, those are my takes on the Panasonic S5. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you want to see more, you can hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell to stay up to date when I release new content. And like always, you can leave a like, dislike, or comment what you thought in the video. And if you want to see more, visit the channel. I have much more Panasonic videos as well on the channel. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Be sure to stay up to date when I release new content by hitting the subscribe button and notification bell again, like I said. And most of all, stay safe out there, and UNHOLY-OMEGA signing out. Have a good one.